How's it going, you guys? NewAge here with our next week's episode of our Top 10 Anything Goes Pokemon. Now, this week, we've got something, a lot of these I think of at the last second, so, I thought of this one and I was like, sure, let's talk about that. So this week is our top 5 potential Elite Four members. Now, when I say potential, I mean types that they haven't done yet, because they've had a lot of types throughout the entirety of Pokemon, and a lot of different types have repeated in the Elite Four. So you'd think, why are there still some types that they haven't had yet, especially with there being like 5 different members each time, including the champion. So they definitely have had the opportunity, especially as more and more Pokemon have come along. You'd figure, hey, like, you should really throw in some of these types, because it'd be cool to see them. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right in. First off, I'm going to start with honorable mention, because there are only 6 types that have yet to make their debut in the Elite Four. So going to be a top 5. Whichever one I feel did not make that top 5, that's the honorable mention right now. And that type is the grass type. Now, granted, there would be a grass type would be cool, because obviously we haven't had it yet. In my opinion, it would have a similar play style to a poison type, just because they have the option to stall, and a lot of grass types are poison as well. So it would definitely make sense if they went down that route. Just like they would for poison types. But I'll go ahead and do what I'm gonna do with all the rest of the types, which is give a little team that I think would be cool, and a little bit of a breakdown of why I think I'd choose those Pokemon. So, if you were to go down, say the classic bulky toxic stall set, all that good stuff, my team would have to consist of Ludicolo, Ferrothorn, Trevenant, Whimsicott, and Venusaur. So 5 Pokemon, because all the Elite Four members have 5. I mean, not counting X and Y. I really hope they don't give them 4 in Ruby and Sapphire. I don't think they're going to do that. Anyways, so that would be my team. Ludicolo, I feel like, would be a good start, just because, you know, when you haven't fought these people for the first time, you don't know exactly what Pokemon they have unless you look into it. But I mean, especially if it were a new game, that's what it would take for it to have to be new Pokemon. So Ludicolo, I think, would be good to start, because if you know you're going up against a fighting type gym, a fire type might be what you choose to start with, especially as a fire type being your starter as opposed to maybe a flying type Pokemon. So start off with Ludicolo, nice and bulky. It can do the Leech Seed thing, and it could do the Rain Dance thing, so it could make fire moves weaker for the rest of your team. Granted, you know, these are somewhat competitive, so it would kind of have to rely on the computers being able to battle better. But taking that into consideration, this is what the teams would be based off of. Or not taking that into consideration, but if they could do this, this is what I would want them to do. So have a Ludicolo that sets up Rain, get some Leech Seeds off, maybe some Ice Beams for flying types if they do decide to start with a flying, and then some Scald. I mean, that's always nice too, or Hydro Pump, I mean, whatever you want to go for. Next would be Ferrothorn, obviously taking some physical hits, getting that collateral damage off with the Iron Barbs, that's always nice, as well as you build up, just building up a lot, because it can Leech Seed too. Pretty much the goal is, on this team, not so much to Toxic Stall, but stall with everything else. Like, Toxic Stall is an option, but you also have things like Leech Seed, or Burn with Scald, or my next point would be, Burn with Trevenant, or Paralyze with Whimsicott. Just completely crippling the team would be the goal of this right here. So Ferrothorn giving that extra damage, maybe throw Stealth Rocks up, I mean, even though it's not completely necessary. Next, Trevenant with the Leech Seed, as well as being able to inflict Burn with Will-O-Wisp, so that's nice. Whimsicott with the Prankster, Stun Spores, helps slow down everyone, also get some Leech Seed stall. Maybe Tailwind makes things faster, not exactly necessary with a Ferrothorn, on your team, but definitely an option. And then last would be Venusaur. This would basically be the ace of the team. Nice and bulky, hit with some powerful poison moves, maybe put to sleep if you're not already status. That's like the icing on the cake. The last status move that you haven't got to yet is the sleep. And then you get Leech Seed, you get some stuff with Synthesis. I mean, you know, whatever they want to go down. I think Grass would make a really good team. The only reason it's not on the list is just because it could potentially lack the creativity that these other teams could have while still being similar to the poison type. So that's really all that is. So now we'll go ahead and jump into number 5, and that would be Rock type Pokemon. Now, Rock types, I think would be good in the Elite Four because they'll be really difficult to defeat if you're not prepared. Which, I mean, considering that in most Elite Fours you have to use things like Surf and Waterfall just to get there, I'm assuming they would be prepared. That's why this is number 5, because Surf would be good to just wipe out the whole team. Now, what I do think where this would be good at is if they introduced an Elite Four where you have different types of battles like double, triple, rotation, and singles, because they've done that in hacks before, but they haven't done that in the actual games yet. So I think it would be good in, say, a double battle, because then when you have Pokemon that work together that are rock types, they can actually get some pretty good coverage and a lot done. So my team for this rock type Elite Four member would be Cradily, Carbink, Tyranitar, Shuckle, and Regirock. Now, Cradily and Carbink I think would be good to start off with, because if you initially show up with water type Pokemon, Cradily with a Storm Drain would shut that down. And then you get Carbink out there for some solid screen setup, and that's nice because Carbink can take some hits too. And then after that comes in something like Tyranitar, which gets the Sandstorm up, so that makes you have even better defenses. So then once you're done focusing on the defenses just by sending Tyranitar out, you can start hitting hard with Tyranitar because Tyranitar is a strong Pokemon. So there's your power right there. And then next you get something like Shuckle out there with all its amazing defenses. Maybe you trap things with Infestation while Tyranitar just kind of picks at them little by little. You can even get some Toxic going with Shuckle. Shuckle could have Rest too, so it becomes a major hassle. And then last, I would have to say a really, really strong defensive rock type as Regirock for their ace, just because it's really good in taking both kinds of hits. No, that's not Regirock, that's Registeel. Regirock is good at taking physical hits though, as well as being able to have a pretty good move pool with some strong attacks. So Tyranitar and Regirock would be a main kind of source of power right there, while everyone else is just kind of there for support, which I think this team could work out pretty well. So moving on now to number 4, we've got normal type Pokemon. Now normal types, really good because there's different kinds of strategies, different kinds of Pokemon, just all around so many options with this team. And with so many to choose from, I'd have to say for my team, it would be straight up coverage, general coverage of everything that a team would need. So we'd have a physical Pokemon, a bulky Pokemon, special attacking Pokemon, a specially bulky Pokemon, and then like a support Pokemon. So that's 5 Pokemon right there, and those Pokemon are going to be Porygon 2, Blissey, Smeargle, Porygon Z, and Kangaskhan. Now, Smeargle, obviously, be a support Pokemon, maybe use some stuff like Sticky Web, slow him down. Stealth Rocks, put to sleep. I mean, the classic Smeargle set, like I said, these are competitive, but it would be cool to see in a Pokemon League, I gotta admit, make things more challenging, especially after X and Y, like, come on now. So, that would be nice. Then, next, you got Porygon 2, acting as a bit of a physical wall, somewhat, while being able to hit hard, recover damage off, stuff like that. Eviolite would be nice to have on Porygon too if they put items on them like that. That would be awesome. Otherwise, I mean, you know, still be able to take some hits for the most part. And then you'd have Porygon Z as a special attacker, And I like the idea of having Porygon Z and Porygon 2, because in a lot of the Elite Four teams, you see Pokemon repeat, you know? Like, I don't know, like Bruno having Hitmonlee and Hitmonchan, you know? Those all evolve from the same Pokemon, but it's cool, like, they have a theme, you know? So I think that would be nice, while at the same time, Porygon Z hits insanely hard, so it'd be a strong special attacker. And then next up you'd have Blissey as obviously your special wall to take hits, maybe heal off some Pokemon with Wish. I mean, whatever you want to do, Blissey takes special hits, and that's the point of Blissey, and it does well doing that. And then last for the ace would be Kangaskhan. With the priority, the strong stab moves, different kinds of coverage, I think it would make for a pretty interesting last Pokemon. So normal types, granted there's so many different strategies, that's the one I've kind of narrowed in on, just the coverage of get a little bit of everything up in there. I think would be really cool to have for a normal type Elite Four member. And as we've seen in Pokemon Glace, for those of you who have played or seen a Let's Play of that, normal types in the Elite Four, pretty devastating, gotta admit. So for my number 3, moving on to that, we've got berry types. Now granted they just had a gym leader with this type, I don't really think they took full advantage of what these Pokemon can do. Like, they have great offensive and defensive options, and then some dual types that can make for a pretty interesting team. So that being said, my team would be Klefki, Clefable, Sylveon, Togekiss, and Azumarill. Now, Klefki, obviously, I love Klefki, and it's great for setting up screens, making defenses nice and powerful for the team. And then there's Clefable, who could take boosted hits really easily, depending on which Clefable it is. I mean, regardless, they're both pretty useful, but I think an unaware one would be good for an Elite Four, just to stop sweeping and everything like that, while at the same time, it can hit back really hard with Moonblast. And then I also like Togekiss on the team because it works well with Klefki, just because it gives a ground immunity, which hits Klefki really hard, which other than that, there's not too many things that hit Klefki hard, other than water or fire type moves, which that's where Azumarill comes into play. Azumarill can take fire type moves really well, while being able to hit extremely hard, having a physical attacker on the team as well, since most of these are special attackers, so Azumarill is definitely an option you need. And then last would be Sylveon, special attacker, nice strong special wall, just in general, overall good Pokemon, as well as having some healing and some stall options. So a lot of decent options with the fairy type team right there. Would be a lot of fun. So for number 2, we've got electric type Pokemon. Now, some electric Pokemon are extremely powerful, especially with the addition of Megas, on top of being really fast. So, that being said, my team is an interesting one. It had to be Electros, Rotom Wash, Emolga, Electivire, and Manectric. Now, Electros and Emolga are great because they have ground immunity, and if a player's going to come in thinking they're just going to take it out with ground Pokemon, that's not really the case that's going to be happening right here. So Electros and Rotom Wash prevent that while being able to go up against ground Pokemon, with Electros having access to moves like Giga Drain, and Rotom Wash having access to moves like Hydro Pump, as well as Electros having a pretty big move pool, and Rotom having the ability to burn Pokemon too. So an all-around nice little coverage right there with Electros and Rotom Wash. And then you get Emolga, or I'm sorry, I was trying to talk about Emolga and Electros first. Rotom Wash has the Levitate ability, but Emolga is then again a flying type, so more immunity to ground types, as well as being pretty fast and having things like Volt Switch. That are a lot of these Pokemon would have Volt Switch, so that would keep the team flowing nice and fast too, especially if the computers weren't elevated in their level. Just using Volt Switch keeps the team going strong, which I think would be really cool. And then there's Electivire and Manectric. Now, Electivire would be the physical attacker, and the last two are just for power and hitting hard. Now, granted, Electivire doesn't have any ground immunity. Electivire has a base speed of 95, so granted that doesn't outspeed everything. It does outspeed a nice chunk of Pokemon. Granted, the Elite Four wouldn't exactly be invested, as far as I know. I don't think they do that, but that's basically where that comes from, is that Electivire does have the potential to outspeed some of the ground type threats, and then hit back with things like Ice Punch, or Electivire has a really interesting move pool, so Electivire I think will be good for that. And then Manectric hitting really hard with the special attacking side, while still being very fast, especially if Manectric were a Mega. It would just be a major threat to a team with the Intimidated as well. So that being said, moving on to number 1, through the process of elimination, there's only one type left, and that type is Flying. So with so many possibilities and dual types that call for many combination of Pokemon that can all do different things. I mean, you've heard me talk about it before. I said Flying types are one of the most versatile types in my opinion. So that being said, I think it would make a great team for the Elite Four. So if I had to choose a set team, it would be Gliscor, Skarmory, Talonflame, Dragonite, and Honchkrow. Now it's somewhat hard to cover all the weaknesses that they have, but I did try my best. So basically that's what the team is built around, is resisting flying type weaknesses somehow. So Gliscor is obvious for an electric immunity and has the option to Toxic Stall. While staying up, I don't know if they want to do Toxic Spikes. I don't know if Gliscor gets that, but Toxic nonetheless, which would be very nice. And then there's Skarmory to resist ice types while either getting up rocks or getting rid of them. Some kind of support for the team is always needed, especially for flying type teams, so that would be something that would be nice if they could do, or at least throw Whirlwind on this thing to mix things up a little bit. So Skarmory would be there to hopefully take ice type moves pretty well. And then Talonflame is good because it has the priority flying type moves, and if an Elite Four member is having trouble outspeeding your Pokemon, well, you get Talonflame out there, and that's not as much of an issue anymore. Plus, it could have Roost to help keep itself alive and make it not a flying type anymore, so that's always an option as well. And then there's Dragonite. Dragonite is just good because it has multi-scale, but it also does help resist the electric weakness because it's not super effectively weak to electric, so that's just another option that you have right there. While being a really hard-hitting Pokemon, having access to things like Outrage, or maybe even stuff like Thunder Wave, could really work out for the team. And then last we got Honchkrow. This one is just kind of a random one I threw in there. I thought it would be cool because it has Roost, it has priority with the Sucker Punch, and it has the ability Moxie, which could then have the potential for a team to sweep, which would be really cool having to worry about that in the Elite Four. I think that just presents new kinds of challenges. So that's going to be that right there. In the end, my overall opinion, I think it would be very interesting if, with all the Megas that they've been coming out with lately, I mean, they already have champions that have Megas. I think soon they should get to the point where Elite Four members could have Megas as well, and I think a lot of these would make the teams more effective, like Mega Venusaur on the Grass team, or Mega Tyranitar on the Rock team, and then like I said, Mega Manectric for the Electric type team. A lot of things working out, making things a lot stronger. So that's my opinion on all that good stuff right there, and that's going to be my top 5 potential Elite Four members. So you can go ahead, leave your own top 5 down below, why you think they'd be top 5. I'm really interested in reading those, and go ahead and leave a like if you enjoyed this video. And if you want to see more, you can subscribe to my channel NewAgeSteel, where I upload multiple videos every single day, and you can also follow me on Instagram and Twitter, where I post first-hand information on when I upload videos to the channel. So until then, I'm NewAgeSteel, keep on watching, and I'll see you guys next time.